First Champ League podcast. My name is Oliver Bash, joined alongside by Taco, Vaudable, and Seb. And guys, this has been a long time coming. I feel like we have talked about doing a CRL podcast for quite literally months, if not years at this point. And now we finally get here. For those that do not know, the Champ League podcast is going to be everything that has to do with Collegiate, from rosters to rumors, results, and even a weekly power ranking for all of you guys at home who might be curious. And in addition to that, we're going to be going through, a couple of different topics here. Today, we're going to be going over past results from this summer before we get into CRL, our power rankings, and finally, we're going to cap it off with a tier list, talking about every single team that could potentially make it into CRL. And I literally mean that. I drew 60 logos for all of you guys who competed in Summer Series. This took me all week. I really hope you guys enjoy. I'll start off with you, Taco. You excited for the podcast?
Drawing 60 logos, fast, dangerously insane human being. But other than that, that's been a monumental achievement. But I've been super excited for this as well, because I feel like Collegiate is like the little brother in the Sonics like system of esports, and where it's like, I like it. It's fun. It's like laid back, but like people don't really know about it. And if you want to learn more about it, ideally you can come to trusted community figures like us, who I feel like people already associate with CRL. So hopefully this provides an actual asset to the community on top of the fact that they can actually, maybe learn something they didn't learn about, something that maybe a program didn't tweet out, or maybe hasn't been advertised as much, like roster moves, new teams cropping up, great results, big upsets, etc.
Oh, see, all you needed to know is we had to wait to make this podcast until Bass got a CRL analyst tag, and then we could all say we're CRL analysts, and now we're able to have this podcast. So
we're all legitimate now under the eyes of Psionics.
I can verify.
We'd all have CRL analysts on the lower third, and then Bass would just be like in quotes. Like, hypothetically, you could say that, I guess. I don't know.
Now you guys can't roast me, because not only do I have it, but also our other host for the show, and this one, Hercules, also has it. So we've all got it. So it's legit. We actually do know what we're talking about. I can both verify it with my words and also with an in-game title that says I know what I'm talking about. And speaking of which, we got a lot to talk about here today. Every one of these podcasts, by the way, for those at home, because I don't think we've really publicly stated this, is going to be about an hour to an hour and a half long, or at least that's the expected amount. If you guys are here for the power ranking, that's going to be our middle slot. But for right now, let's kind of just talk about what's going on within CRL, or I guess Collegiate Rocket League in general, because we're going into the season with a huge summer. Not only do we have CRL Worlds, but we had a couple events in between to kind of, give us a little idea of what's to come here. And I think before we do get, into what's to come, we'll take a look back here, and specifically with CRL Worlds. Again, for those that do not know about Collegiate Rocket League or CRL Worlds, it's an international competition with the best teams from North America and the best teams from EU. And looking back at CRL Worlds this year, guys, we didn't do great.
Nope.
We did not do well. I don't think we did great.
Noises.
Yeah, we are the collegiate powerhouse of the world is supposedly now the second best collegiate region in the world. We can't even win in college sports anymore, and that's something that North America is supposed to be known at. So I don't know. What do you do? I still say it's a fluke, but I will hold that L until next year. So
we just took each other down, so Northwood couldn't go back to back and defend. If Northwood was there, maybe they would have won against Dr. Boomin.
I firmly believe
Fisher
that.
instead, and they weren't as prepared against his roster. It seemed like they were kind of like slipping away throughout the series, and it did go to game 7, but it did not look good in their favor at the end there. And they also haven't played during any of the offseason events, so we have no idea what this Fisher team's been cooking in the background, getting ready for the new season of CRL.
Yeah, but you say Northwood would be a better shot here, but Northwood also got 4-0'd. I feel like there's no world where I say Northwood would he even have been slightly more prepared for Boomin. I don't think anybody was really prepared for EU, and I think that's the biggest downfall for all of us, is that every North American team came into this and went, this will be fine. We'll be fine. And then it just kind of fell apart immediately. So
heavily thrown.
Well, regardless, he's still around. He's going to be coming in. But I do agree with him in that, no one was really expecting Europe. Everyone had pointed out that Dr. Boomin was coming into this. They were the number 1 seed. They looked great. We covered it on the B stream that they were going to be the unexpected team coming into that Worlds. For them to win the whole thing, it was beyond a shock, I think. And if I were to rank like biggest upsets in not even just like RLCS, but like in terms of Rocket League events, no, Dr. Boomin winning the whole thing in a collegiate event is by far, I think, the first. That is insane. When we look at the caliber of talents on every single one of the North American rosters, the fact that Europe was able to come back, take the dub anyway, I don't think that's ever going to be beat.
I think my headcanon has consistently been that we came into this kind of underestimating EU because of how last year went, where EU really struggled to get in that top 8. And then in groups, we now have at least one, or well, not at least, we had one EU team get out of every single group, especially, I would say most markedly actually in Group A, where Northwood White had beaten Blue at times throughout the season. And yet they're the one going 1-2 and Hamburger going a 2-1 and moving on. And then beyond that, once we got to semifinals, I feel like Fisher, we started all noticing, we were talking to each other in the stands through DMs saying like, hey, it looks like Fisher's like actually here, like they're focused, like they're actually seeming like they're scrimming together, getting in games, because they feel like a team that takes things more lax. It felt like they were in it to win it. And in my mind, when they beat Northwood Blue, defending world champions 4-0 in semis, I feel like their brains just switched off and said, final boss has been defeated. This next thing is kind of a cakewalk. And then I think they got a really rude awakening and they just could not recover in time in the grand finals, because it was jarring how one-sided some of those wins were for Dr. Boomin.
WVU best team though, because they're the only one who beat Dr. Boomin. So.
That's true. No, that's true.
Honestly, I feel like WVU last year was so undersold in their performance here. It's something to say that not only did they beat Boomin, but they got so close to beating Fisher and taking them out of the groups as well. I feel like WVU would have been a better representative in playoffs than we did from a couple of the other teams that were there, because like, I don't know. I don't want to, bash on any of the teams that did show up in the quarterfinals, but I feel like none of our teams, we looked at them in the quarterfinals and went, this is the run. They're in form. They know they're going to do this. It was like you look at Northwood and you go, okay, you beat Phoenix, fine. And then they lose to Fisher. And Fisher does well, but they drop a game to Amsterdam, who doesn't even have one of their main players. So it's just kind of like you look at every single team coming out of quarters and immediately get scared. And I think that's kind of the feeling for everybody, especially when Columbia goes down 4-1. Granted, I think a lot of us didn't expect Columbia to beat Boomin, but 4-1 was definitely a surprise for me as well.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about Columbia, like obviously, they knew going into this, like this wasn't the team that won Fall, if I remember correctly. Yeah. It didn't have JD on it, obvious reasons aside. Though, despite the fact, listen, I'm sure Northwood and Northwood Blue and Fisher going into that semifinals, they knew that they essentially, I think in their head, they knew that this was the final. They thought this was the final in their head. You could tell right after Fisher beat Blue that like even from the post-match interview, which I remember very distinctly, Sosa being on that stage, and it was like they thought they had it in the bag, and then Dr. Boomin just came in and was like, yeah, no. And then the moment that they lost a game, you could see Money whiffing challenges, Sosa so scared, and Kinsey
Fisher
was
also
very
didn't have
much
a coach there.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
So it's just so many different factors that all collapsed. One thing I will say, I think this is a rude awakening for North America, and I still hold to the belief that I don't think a single European team is making playoffs next year. I don't know. Actually,
what? You don't
not
think
a single
Boomin
one
is coming back and at least making playoffs?
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. That's all I got to do.
No, because dude, not only are all the teams going to be like, okay, we have to actually try it out. We have to actually scrim. We have to actually do that. All the teams are scrimming. Every single team is playing like every event. They're playing every show match. They're doing everything they can to play as a team on the North American side. Okay, except for Fisher. But the fact of the matter is the teams that are going to do well, they're going to be the teams that want it the most and are going to practice for it the most. And that's why I don't think Europe is
you do realize that implies that hypothetically, if we have 10 NA teams, 6 EU teams or something like that, then the top 10 seeds from NA are all better than the defending EU world champions.
Oh, yes.
I've heard like Dr. Boons are going to try and get a bunch of bubble players, though. So, like, we don't know exactly what's going to happen there.
That's true. I mean, we haven't seen all the roster shifts from
bubble
Europe.
Players from EU are better than bubble players from NA. I mean, it's been proven.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think that, like, brother, even if this team makes 0 changes, I still feel like they're making it through. Like, just on paper alone, all 3 of these players are good. So. I don't think there's a world where we don't at least see them in playoffs. Like, if you said they don't win it again, fine, sure. Not getting into playoffs?
Maybe, like, Dr. Boomin as back-to-back, they might, but I can't see too many other ones at all. Like, I don't see Hamburger making it through. I don't see Berlin Phoenix, despite I'm not exactly sure if they made a roster change or not. I just don't know, dude. Look at the caliber of players that we have now that actually care and that are scrimming. It's crazy.
All right,
I see Nichols College dunking on like every EU team, but we'll get to that later.
All right, so in order for Seb to not dig himself further into this NA copium pit, we're going to move on from CRL Worlds. As you can see, it was a sore spot for everybody within North America.
Yeah, we're
so
all mad.
let's see what happened afterwards. As we got into Summer Series, we did have another collegiate event during the summer here. It was the CCA Summer Series with $20,000 on the line. And it was 64 teams. It was gigantic. Like, not even trying to exaggerate, this is probably one of the biggest events in collegiate I've ever seen, if not the biggest. And the craziest thing about this is that it was random draw. So some of these groups just stacked. I look at groups like, Group D. Group D, one of those ones you look at, you're just like, all right, this is unfortunate for whoever doesn't make it out. Some of the teams a little bit less stacked, but overall, this was a really good preview, I think, for CRL this year, because not only do we have this group stage, but I'm hoping a producer can real quick flip over just to show them, and then we'll go back to the groups for a second. But we also had a single elimination playoff that consisted of our top teams as well. The top 2 teams out of every group made it into playoffs, and those playoffs were pretty chaotic, to say the least, and it had some rather marquee matchups. For groups alone, though, I feel like, like you said, there's a couple of, I'd say, contenders that kind of popped up here that we weren't really paying attention to initially. One of them, Vaught, I'm going to let you have the floor for Group D, because what...
There was so many crazy tiebreaker scenarios going into the last matches for Group D, where I think it was Boise got 3-0'd in their first matchup, where no one expected it to happen with their new roster. And then they showed up afterwards and almost topped their group. So they looked really good. And Oklahoma Christian University, or OCE Sports, I think is what their shorthand is now, they looked insane with the way that they're performing. I've heard they've actually made some roster changes that are coming up soon, too, for the qualifiers. So that's a team to keep an eye out on as well. And UTD, I mean, no slouches, but they were in the group of death and they didn't have a chance. Group
of death was this one. I feel like there were a couple others we also looked at that were relative groups of death here. Group D was pretty difficult. I think Group F was another one that we were also looking at, another 2-1 scenario where everybody kind of just traded wins with Syracuse, Kennesaw, and Colorado State. I don't really think that there were too many groups where unexpected results came through, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like any of these teams that didn't deserve, didn't actually didn't win. Seb, you had an there. What team did you think should have made?
Group J, if you recall, had WVU, Algonquin College, IRSC, and Virginia Tech. Which going into it, now listen, we'll talk about Algonquin in a sec, but no one was expecting Algonquin to like absolutely dunk that group in the way that, well, okay, I can't say dunk, it was like 3-3, but the fact of the matter is IRSC came off like a pretty good 2022 and came into this. Yes, they no longer had Seabass, but I can't remember who their replacement was, but Kimbo, yeah, and they were still playing like decent. They assume, okay, they're in the group. WVU obviously takes it. Algonquin, no really pedigree beforehand, save for a couple opens. And then they ended up making it through, Algonquin ended up making it through, being one of the most unexpected teams, I think, in this tournament, making all the way to top 8. Trey absolutely dunked on me for it because I didn't give them their flowers, which is totally fine. But yeah, no, Algonquin, one of the most surprising teams to come out of this tournament.
Has some good Canadian representation.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like, though, if you look at it on paper, is that really that surprising? Like, no disrespect to IRSC, because I think they're a great team, but losing Seabass is a huge blow, versus an Algonquin that quite literally have an ex-pro on their team. Like, Fresh has been around. Like, homie, like, when you put him 1-1, I feel like that guy takes out any player on IRSC. No?
Bro. But I made this point on broadcast. They're all old.
This is CRL. Everyone's old. Well, everyone here is old.
Except some of the new teams that are out there in Group G, Durham and Ole Miss as well. Like, they were performing out of their mind in that group. Carnegie Mellon, they unfortunately got the short end of the stick when it came to that group with the picks.
I feel like Carnegie Mellon's an interesting team here, because I feel like this is a team that we don't talk about now that often. We didn't talk about them before all that often. They have J-Bot on that team, though. That should be a good team. And then they go 0-3. Like, again, it's Group G, and that's the reason why. I at least expected them to be a little bit more competitive. Like, that's a team I could see potentially making CRL, and they barely did anything in that group.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean much in East. There's a lot of teams where I'm like, if you rewound this clock like 2 years, these guys are in CRL, and then you watch it now, it's like these guys are elite, some of the best players I've ever seen. I could see them in like 20th place. Like it's like legitimately, it's the bar is that far. You have to make a crazy run, because even if you do get to like semis, winners final, or the grand final within your pool to make it, you're probably playing against a rank A, rank X average team or something at that point. Like it's, especially in the East and now progressively in the West with all the kind of like leaked rosters we're starting to get spill out. I mean, that's the new reality. Like you're going to have to be an elite level team with crazy coordination. And I feel like Carnegie Mellon probably slaps a lot of people around in ranked, but that's about as far as it goes.
I could see them like making it through in one of these calls, but it would definitely be like a squeak in. Like they wouldn't get there with like definitively. They have to kind of fight, and they'd have to knock out a team that's expected to also make it in order for them to get on through. Regardless of that, we kind of have to wait and see about CRL results, considering quals are literally this weekend. But we do have the results of Summer Series. So if we can flip over to just kind of take a look at the bracket that came after this one. This is how the whole series ended up. This is how the entire event ended. It was WVU. Not only did they win this might be the most dominant performance I have ever seen.
Not dropping a single game. Laval would have taken one though.
What?
Hypothetically, in a world in which Laval shows up and is at their PCs, then maybe. But I would say this is the most dominant run is definitely an understatement, because even when we see Northwoods came into the fray, even when they were playing, they're still dropping the occasional game. They were still actually looking like there was some way of countering it. I don't know what they were feeding these boys, but those final 2 days, they were just cleaning up. Everything looks so good. And to the point where even in the grand finals, you kind of just are shaking your head and you're thinking to yourself, is there going to be a goal this game? Like, it just doesn't feel like they can even get a shot off at times. It is wild.
What's also wild, St. Edwards, they just came out of nowhere with a new roster that is taking the scene by storm, making it all the way into those finals, and had the toughest journey to get there. BPC, Ball State mainly there too. Algonquin, who took down Akron Blue, which all of us were kind of surprised by that. Go Canada. And then 4-0ing Boise State to make it into the finals. Yeah, they got 4 at the end, but that was the first time we've seen this roster together. We've kind of seen 2/3 of WVU on one of the bubble teams that are out there too, 0-1. So you kind of get some of that synergy there, but now we're kind of seeing how St. Edwards and the West are looking to shape up and maybe be a top contender again.
Yeah, and I do want to point out that WVU's record, I believe throughout the entire thing, was 29-1. 29 game wins, 1 game loss in groups. This is an absurdly dominant win. Not even the peaks of like Northwood and Akron at their peak like got close to that. They would still, either drop games, lose games, like drop in the first game, the Summer Series 2021 Eastern playoffs to the likes of Stockton, which led St. Clair to win the whole thing. But anyway, WVU getting probably the most dominant win, which going into this new season, they are by far, I think, we'll get to power rankings in a bit, but they're probably the highest up there. But St. Edwards, the West has hope. The West has hope. Bass.
Oh, it's such a good year to be a West fan. It's so good. It's finally, like, after years of me like having to tell you guys the West is good and knowing that I'm wrong, but still having to hold the argument anyways. It's finally real, because it's also not just St. Edwards. Like, there have been a couple of teams that have moved in during the summer that have made significant changes. Again, truly. Boise beating Ole Miss here, I feel like a lot of people have not really remembered that result as much as they should. It gets brought up occasionally, but like, that's crazy, man. Yep. In my mind, Ole Miss was talking all this on Twitter, saying we're the best team out there. We're going to dominate CRL. They're like all ready to go. And then in their first event, they get beat by Boise. And it's not because Boise's bad, but that's crazy, man. Like, that's insane.
No, but I would say the back-to-back. The back-to-back is what gets me about that, because I think Ole Miss has, and unfortunately I'm going to pick on this university, Siena Heights University is the university I go to, where basically they get formed, a couple bubble players, and you're looking good, and they're saying, we'll see us at Worlds, get you a jersey if we see you there. And it's like, well, you got to make the league first. And like, that's easy. And then they don't 2 semesters in a row. And then it's like, oh, okay, it's really difficult. And I feel like Ole Miss is another university in which they formed that team. We all saw it and we're like, on paper, this should slap. And then they're really underwhelming for a while. And they finally actually pulled together here. They beat Northwood Blue in playoffs for Summer Series. And you're thinking, oh, this is the team. And then Boise 4-2s, the team that just beat Northwood Blue. Like that's the type of whiplash that I was not prepared for on desk when we were covering that.
Yeah, well, I also had to witness them absolutely smack Durham around like it was a chew toy. But yeah, no, Lunar was in chat right now, was talking about it. It's like they were playing on so much lag during the summer and really kind of weren't playing arguably at their peak. But now they're all at home. They're all comfortable. And we've seen them when they're playing. They play very comfortably. They literally laugh in the middle of their games and just lock in and have a good time. And
Lunar going monkey mode on the bed.
Oh, I wish we got the
We really
clip.
should have prepped that for the graphics.
Oh, yeah, I was
we
gonna
should have
say.
prepped that clip.
I forgot about it till now. Wiped it from my memory banks.
Yeah.
I guarantee that's somewhere out there though. We can find that clip.
Yeah, it's
if our
on this
producer can
channel.
pull that up, I'll pay him extra. You know.
I guess to just conclude this summer, like obviously with WVU just winning in dominant fashion, but the West and East rivalry is like actually real now. Like beforehand, it was like, yeah, okay, you know, East versus West, but East is like so much better than West, and then West is like, yeah, okay,
except Columbia,
now we
maybe.
have a couple good teams, and now it's not just Columbia. We have Boise, we have St. Edwards, we have is Maryville West. Yeah, and a few others, and it's like, okay, and now we have to watch out. Now things can actually get spicy for once since like season 1.
I mean, it got to the point where last year when we had some of the EURC guys invite us over and do a little bit of like a pre-Worlds podcast and talk about things. The basic meme was that Columbia is so good in the West, they're an honorary East team. like it's not even like the West is good representation. It's like, man, you're so good. What are you doing over there? Like, come on, buddy. Like, move across the border just a little bit more to the East, and then you're into the good conference. But I mean, that's really where it's been, and I do agree that not only is it like, as analysts, we get to like play it up. It's actually legitimately a difficult decision to see, like, is this actually going to be better? Particularly with, I think, St. Edwards infusing a lot of life. I would probably say by far the most improved roster in that region, maybe even just overall.
Yeah.
Talking about that, though, there is a LAN that happened more recently, Hugh LAN. There was the one that Columbia won. Got to give them credit where it is due, but that was a smaller event.
Yeah,
the Hugh LAN had a lot more teams at it from what I've seen.
Yeah, Hugh was like an actual like collegiate LAN. It was made for collegiate teams, and I think we also have the results of that prepped as well. So if we can flip on over to Hugh, show you guys what happened in the round robin. And this is why we say, yeah, those wins over teams like Ole Miss, those wins from teams like St. Edwards are important because you look at this and you go, all right, not too surprising. West Virginia go undefeated in groups. Fine.
Yeah.
You Ole Miss, 1 loss. Maryville and St. Edwards each take 3. None of this is all too surprising when you initially look at it. I would say the rest of the teams underneath them, not that surprising either. Illinois State, for those that do not know, Illinois State is No Manchin's new team, and Harrisburg is T-Corral. So, again, 2 teams underneath them that are also very solid. If you slip up as either Maryville or St. Edwards, obviously you're going to get past here. But the round robin isn't necessarily where my interest lies. It's the playoffs here, which I'm hoping we have a graphic for. If we can pull up the graphic, I might be doing this too quickly on our production. I keep trying to flip between everything, but
Thank you, Jesse.
there it is. This is why this was important. After St. Edwards get to Summer Series final, they then beat West Virginia on LAN and Ole Miss. This is... West has hope. We're good. We're finally good.
Wow, West team that doesn't choke on LAN. Ooh.
Yeah, that's a first.
Wow.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's weird because you'd think they'd crave it since West Internet is so terrible. But historically, when we do see St. Edwards get this dub, it is nice. Granted, I will say with a slight caveat, and there's nothing against St. Edwards, but West Virginia was playing pretty sloppy that game.
Oh, that was such a
I
bad
need a rematch.
series.
That's
I
true.
do need a rematch.
And it was also
a
a
little
best
bit.
of 5, not a best of 7. So.
Yes, there were a couple of goals where I'm like, I don't know about that one, but that is not to dilute St. Edwards. Just one of those things where it's like, yes, they beat them. Yes, they're capable of beating them. I think we already knew that. But I want to redo. I want a little bit of a different situation on a different day. Mainly just because I don't know about these players, but I think that matchup took place like before 10 a.m. Like I think it was like a very early day for some of them. So
super
I don't
early.
even know. I'm not entirely sure how that factors in. At least for me, I am useless until around 3 o'clock. So I don't. I can't imagine waking up that early to play.
I bet there's some West fans right now in the chat that's just like, oh, East Copium. You guys are just mad because East lost. Oh, no. Arizona, and I'm like, nah, dude, come on.
It has been confirmed. Yes, 9
Try
a.m.
playing Rocket League at like 9 a.m., bro.
I mean, CRL Falls used to be brutal when I was in grad school and trying to wake up, and you'd be like waking up at like for a game to start like 11 a.m. and even that felt a little early because I'm like, this is my weekend. I don't want to wake up this early. But yeah, 7 a.m. before, nah, there's not enough caffeine in the world to save you.
And dude, even trying to cast at 12 is like trying to cast the quals at 12. I'm like, man, dude,
don't say that to Bass. He casts
like,
APAC.
I was gonna say, you guys are complaining about something I've never once even thought
Bass
about.
doesn't wake up;
about.
he just stays up until and takes maybe a nap to prep or something.
Depending on the day, sometimes I will literally take melatonin and pass out at like 5 p.m. as it's literally
nice.
like you kind of have to. So it's like, you know,
That's
what it
grind.
is. But yeah, I still do think that even despite the fact that that was, I would agree, not a great series out of WVU. I went back and watched the entire thing on my Twitch, like with viewers, and just kind of like went and dissected what happened. And honestly, look, I don't want to call out any players. I'm never the person to, but Daunt, I have to have a conversation with you about what happened there, bro. You missed so many open nets that I was just confused by and like these weird defensive plays. And it's not because I think he was playing poorly all around, but it was just like uncharacteristic misses. I agree with Taco. There was just whiffs that I was just very confused by more than anything else. It definitely didn't feel like WVU at their peak, but granted, even without WVU being at their peak for the weekend, apparently, they still went 10-0 in groups. So that result still stays pretty impressive to me.
One thing to note, though, there's a lot of top teams that weren't at that LAN. We didn't see Fisher. We didn't see any of the Northwoods. We didn't see Ball State or Columbia. I don't think was even there either. So like a lot of teams you would expect to see probably make it into those playoffs and make a difficult journey for some of those teams weren't there. But it was nice to see a lot of those newer rosters. So we got a bit of a look of them on LAN in this a bit of an environment. But it's not going to be the same once they're playing in league play against all these top teams. And I feel like that's where it comes down to how are we going to rank these teams going into the preseason? I have no idea.
I mean, I will say that the positive part of this is that we do have events that we can really like dissect.
Yeah.
And Summer Series has historically always been shenanigans when it comes to teams winning. Yes,
It
usually
really
the
is.
top seed wins, but you usually get some really flimsy results from a lot of different teams because summer hits different a lot of the time. That's why St. Clair is surprisingly good in summer, a decent port of the time, but nowhere else. So
when they show up.
Yeah, when they show up. Or you get like an Algonquin College. Like, are we going to see Algonquin College actually qualifying for CRL? That's the main thing, and I think going forward and having these little tournaments, even like these show matches and the one that Taco's doing right now, it gets these reps in. It gets the consistency in for like a lot of these brand new teams.
Yeah, it's great to be able to actually see these teams, like I would say, not just taking it seriously, but really putting in the practice to try and outdo one another. I think that we really have such a close, like top sort of, I'd say, bubble of CRL teams that all of them are really fighting to pass each other at this current moment because they all want that number one title. I would say for the first year in a little while, number one team in the nation is definitely up for grabs. There's no definitive right now. I would say that at the moment, there's probably a clear front runner, which we'll get into in a moment is when we start power rankings. But for the most part, there is no definitive number one that will come out at the end of this season. Years past, it would always be Northwood. And then we would think that, okay,
and
last year,
else.
maybe, Columbia. But like, it's very different this year, as it really does feel like it's very open for a lot of different teams to grab, depending on how they develop during the season. So, I guess without further ado, that means it's time for power rankings, as we've had all of the analysts here on the desk submit their own top 10.
Oh gosh.
It's not combined, so I know for any of you that might have watched First Touch, it's not a combined top 10 with averaging out. This is all of us being able to show our top 10s. So if you'd like to
we're
host
doing it
everybody,
one by one, right?
yeah, go ahead.
I was in a fugue state in this one.
We're doing like 10,
I was
9,
talking to you
and
guys
down,
last
right?
night. I was like, I don't actually fully remember anything like 5 through 10, but I guess we'll find out what I was thinking.
Well, we're starting off with number 10. So we're going to start off with the lowest and then move our way up. And at the current moment, nobody has the same 10.
Okay.
That's kind of surprising also for anybody who looks at these logos and goes, why do they look like that? These are all of my hand-drawn logos. Every one of these took way too long for me to draw. It took forever, if I'm being honest. But we have all of them done. You'll be able to see them a little closer soon. Seb, you have a comment.
They're copyright safe. Okay, we need to say that they're copyright safe.
Fair
Especially
use,
with logos.
we made Bass made them.
You got to be safe. They're fair use because Bass actually made them, so it's an artistic endeavor. They're great. You'll see a bunch of them. I hope we have full size of them at some point because we got to show the highlights of like the good ones. The Durham one, for example, is so good.
Just wait till the next segment. I got something special for you at this point. So, yeah, Columbia, Durham, Boise, Akron, Gold. I will be honest, I don't really think I disagree with any of these here. I kind of feel like all of these are pretty apt. Durham, I'm surprised to see you putting them in already, though, Taco. I felt like Durham was almost on my list, but I felt like they needed to earn a little bit more first.
And watching them get worked against Ole Miss kind of reminded me that they're still a new team. And it's like, granted, if you're losing against Ole Miss, it's not a shameful thing. A lot of teams are going to and will lose to Ole Miss. But it was one of those moments where it's like when they're playing against another new team or like a pretty high level team, I think they really have talent. But then it's like when you play against the top, it was like I was not super convinced. And so up until I see that, I don't want to rank them that high. On top of the fact that I believe as of this taping, they're not signed up for quals. So hopefully they actually are a collegiate team at some point. So I decided to put them in a little bit lower. But this is also, at least the mentality I have while doing power rankings is like hypothetically at their peak, maybe like based on what I've seen, how do they match up? And I kind of 1-to-1 with each team going forward. And for Durham, I just couldn't justify putting them any higher.
Also, I should preface this is that I think I made this before Sinclair Gold was announced. And I got to see any of them. So in case you see a notable omission, then there you go.
I feel like we're going to have a couple of teams on here that do not make everybody's list. And I'm scared because I've seen Boise at 10th here for VOD. So I wonder if Boise's just been dropped off some other lists here. Look, we'll get into that in a second. I think once it starts to move up, I mean, I think that none of these are unjustified at the moment, though. And I don't think it's because of the fact that any of these teams have done poorly or haven't done well. It's just the influx of talent we have seen during this offseason for CRL has been insane. And there's some teams you kind of just got to look at and go, I don't know if I can really not put you in my top 10. So I guess let's move on to 9 and see where everybody else has the rest of their teams. I put Boise at 9th, Akron Gold. Okay, that's fair. Maryville over Boise already. That's
they have so much potential.
Ball State at 9. Okay, buddy.
I put Ball. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Ball State at 9. That's kind of wild.
I'm just not convinced. I think that there's way too many good East teams that just are gonna do very well against Ball State, and we have good West teams now. I have to rank like the West teams how I see them so far, and I just think that we're seeing Ball State. They're fine, but like Summer Series wasn't fantastic, and then like I'm convinced that Boise is going to be doing pretty well. St. Edward's is going to do very well. Like I'm sorry, I'm a bit on the Western copium right now.
Yeah, but you just said that Ball State didn't do well during Summer Series. Their only like big loss was to St. Edward's, who they took to 7. They literally took more games off of St. Edward's in playoffs than any other team except for West Virginia.
That's so true. And Boise got 4-0'd by St. Edward's, mind you.
That's what I'm saying.
Like broken logic right there.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, still, listen, fair enough. Fair enough. But I mean, if it's any indication and St. Edward's still able to go close with like other teams and then Ball State gets smacked around by logic. So even though it doesn't really matter or match in terms of like ball, but still, I don't see it. I'm not really convinced. And I say that with love because I do like the team, but yeah, they're just on my 9th. So.
That's me with Maryville. I mean, they have a lot of potential. They haven't shown it just yet. They're a new roster. So it's like, this is a team to look out for. They got bubble talent from all across Europe and North America. And Knight was on the randoms. And being a fan of Shopify Rebellion, I got to go with, Knight from the randoms for that reason to put him in 9. I would put him higher, but there's some other teams that I think deserve higher spots on this list.
Also, but Maryville, like, they didn't do fantastic at Hugh, though, right? So
they got 4th. Tied with 4th.
They got 4th at Hugh, but they also just lost to Columbia, so it's a little bit hard for me to kind of look at that team. I will fully admit Maryville is not on my top 10. They were this close to taking Columbia's spot, and then I realized Columbia literally beat them on land, and I was like, I can't take them off of the list. I definitely do suspect Maryville is one of those teams where I actually think that they're going to move higher and higher up this list the further we get into this season. I think this is a team that needs a little while to gel, but once they get there, this team's going to be very, very threatening in pretty much any capacity. Like, no matter who they play against, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Also, I feel like I need to defend my Ball State pick a bit more.
Okay, go ahead. Let me hear. Because I'm curious. I don't think you're getting away from this one.
In the event that, especially when I'm looking at groups, Ball State, like they didn't have a good group at all in Summer Series. And at the end of the day, like we have to argue off results, right? And Ball State coming into it only having 3 wins over Alberta, Texas A&M, and Utah Valley, and then their only challenging matchup, which was SEU, they got bopped. So realistically, if we're going like off result, I mean, give me a bit of a break here on this one. But I mean, like, yeah, I know, like, because we have like part of the preseason is we have to judge where we think teams are going to be at. And I have no doubt come East, CRL East, like they're probably going to be great and they'll probably make top 8, I imagine.
Why is Akron Gold on the list for both you and Taco? That's what I want to say.
Because Akron Gold is better than blue. Like we talked about this. Like, I'm sorry.
That's exactly what I was saying. I casted a lot of gold and I casted a lot of blues during Summer Series, and my takeaway at the end is that gold kind of looks better than blue, despite blue on paper being much better than gold.
I think that's fair, though. I think that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
I also realized that I put Akron on my list, but I also put Columbia higher, which I don't know if I should have done. But all right, let's move on.
Oh boy, I can't wait to see where Columbia ends up on this list. All right, let's get to number 8 and see where that eventually arrives. Durham over Ball State and Akron Gold. Ball State finally makes the second appearance at 8th. I think that's fair. Columbia at 8th feels a little high for me, but I can get that. And then Akron makes its third, I imagine, final appearance since VOD, it's not on your list.
Yeah, I think no Akron on my list.
I think that's a good pick for Akron, though. Having them higher than Boise, considering it's you, is kind of wild.
They beat Boise in Summer Series. That was the only loss Boise took in groups. That's why I have them there.
Yeah.
I was gonna flip them initially, but just because of that result alone, I will not necessarily put Boise over them. Again, similar to Maryville, I don't think that Akron is going to hold a higher position over Boise come a couple of weeks from now. But I think for this moment right now, I can't necessarily say Boise overtakes them.
Yeah. I'm going to say one thing when it comes to Durham. They have the win over Northwood Blue, and that kind of carries them. I understand. Yeah. I get it.
If there's still a roster, who knows?
But I need to say is that over the summer, we also had the Bell Esports Challenge LAN, which even though Jordan is retired, dude, he's got it. He's got it, dude. He's so good, man. He's still so good. I was talking about it with some of the St. Clair players. Aris, he's so good. Zocian, I've heard, is getting a lot better. Wildfire is old, but he's still good. I think like there's so much experience on that team that I think you could see them doing a lot of damage. And at the end of the day, they got the win over Northwood. So yeah. Do they beat Ball State? Maybe not, but
yeah, I feel like we're going to come out of this, and I feel like by far, Seb, you are going to have the most wild list. I feel like already I can tell because, dude, this means that either Boise is not on your list or you have put them somewhere above 7th, which I can't wait to see.
I did. Boise's on here. I will say I almost forgot the sister team, so I almost forgot to put Northwood White on my list, and I almost fumbled that back so hard. It's just there's so many teams that we have to think about, and I'm like, holy crap.
So many teams.
I kind of hope that you did forget them, and you think you put them on there, and then we get to the end of this list, and there is no Northwood White on your list, and we just find that out.
I'll just X out my list. That's shocked that I totally forgot. I wish we could edit our submissions because No,
that's the point. You don't just get to keep switching it. You have to actually make a stance. You don't just get to go on here when the power rankings are being shown and go, actually, I take it back. This team moves.
I know. I'm already expecting angry DMs.
We gotta see number 7 now.
Yeah, we gotta keep going. All right, number 7. Ole Miss, Ball State, Columbia. Yeah. 2 Columbias
7,
for both
I agree,
you. Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with like legacy too, right? Columbia best in the West for such a long time, even with a roster change. Some would say it's a little bit of an upgrade, but they're still trying to find their footing with it. So I think we just need to see more out of Columbia. I don't think it's enough for them to be number 10 or lower or off the list in general, but they've definitely fallen from one of the top teams in the West, I'd say, for now. Depends on how they're going to perform during the actual season.
I've heard good things about XL coming into the roster. They obviously won the LAN, but even though it was kind of small, regardless, their main problem was LAN choking. And sure, whether or not, that has been remedied, but I think Cam is pretty committed. He's still as good of a player as ever, and XL seems to be fitting into the roster quite well. I just, it is a bit of legacy, but I fully believe come CRL time that they'll be able to be a force in the West like always.
Ole Miss at 7, though.
Yeah, I debated a lot on where to put Ole Miss on here, and I think the big issue for me is that they aren't quite good enough to go into my top 5 yet. I think they're good. I think they're very solid, and I think that they are a contending team. But I think Ole Miss's big issue for me right now is that they're very much a lot of question marks. We have seen them put up some crazy results, and then we've also seen them choke some series that we would think theoretically they would just take with storm. And I think that's like part of it. Again, also going back to the Hewland, they lost in the finals to St. Edwards. And that series, I watched both that and the St. Edwards series versus WVU. That was much more a full series, if you will. Looking at them versus St. Edwards, that was a lot more revealing on both sides. And I think the big thing I saw for Ole Miss is that when pressure was on, they really did crumble underneath it. I saw them as soon as St. Edwards kind of figured them out, quote unquote, and were putting on good pressure and just not allowing defensive blunders to, make its way through, Ole Miss really started to struggle on offense. And I want to see how that changes because it feels like right now this is a team that has 3 players that are very solid, but they don't quite know how to use their mechanics in the rotation that they're building. So I could see them moving up or down on this list at this moment right now, but I think 7's somewhat fair for them.
Yeah, 7 is fair, like a realistic fair. Yeah.
Ball State, right now we're working on the diagonal. If Bass can put him at 6, then we have nailed the downward diagonal.
We could get a power ranking bingo.
Exactly.
I also want an apology for all of you guys having clowned on me for ranking Ball State so low when you guys generally have put him around the same spot.
So, brother, you put Columbia and Durham over them.
So I
put Columbia over Ball State, but that's just for
Ball
now.
State for me. It's like I've been doing like off-season show matches or like run like coverage of tournaments, and I'm like watching them play. I'm like I can see like in concept why this team is so good and why they're so promising. And then they get into summer series, and obviously they get into that playoffs, but they have to play against University of Alberta, pretty good team. A&M Esports, okay team. Utah Valley University, okay team. And then they get into playoffs and they beat Cal Poly. And then they play St. Edwards, their first real test. And they go to game 7, but they got smacked around games 5, 6, and 7. True. So I was like, okay, so you are going to be beating absolutely everyone until you get to the top. And granted, St. Edwards, debatably, we'll see as on the list, a very high ranked team. So that's not shameful, but I'm like, I don't know how you stack up against the top because I haven't seen you against that top consistently being able to put up results. And until I do, I can't reward them with top 5.
I'm still looking at this list going to everybody. Taco, yours seems pretty reasonable. Vod, yours seems reasonable. Seb, you either don't have Boise on your list or they are 6th or higher.
I think they are pretty high.
What is going on right now?
I think they're pretty
Boise
high.
Hopium.
I think they're pretty high.
Haskell has sent the Venmo.
We haven't seen Boise on Taco's list either is the thing, so.
Oh, no, we haven't. Oh, my God, where is Boise on either of these?
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's figure it out. Are they at 6? Do we have 2 Boises at number 6?
Oh, we do.
2 Boises at number 6. Okay. And we also get the Connect 4 with Ball State. The bingo is here. All of these seem relatively fair. I'm actually surprised that I am the one who has Boise kind of further down the list as like one of their more outspoken supporters, because I'll be real, Taco Sep, like, I think Boise is good. I don't know if they've proven themselves at this point to be 6th in the nation. That's a lot.
I think the reason why I put Boise in is specifically in their match against like Ole Miss. Just from like a pure eye test perspective, like, dude, their ice, if I remember correctly, in game 6 and then 7, like a lot of it came really clutch. Sorry, I'm thinking of 5 and 6. Excuse me. It was just really clutch because they were down by a good portion in that game 4 and 5, and then they were able to just come back, mentally reset. The mechanics were just so much better in that game 6. This is a team that likes to play with each other and plays with each other consistently. I see Durtho and Preston, they're always playing together. I fully believe that when it comes to the West, come around, like they're probably going to be the second best in the West. Like I fully believe. So I think we need more results, but I believe that the peaks are higher than most of the other West teams.
I can agree with all that's been said so far for that. And that's also why I put Ole Miss like right above where Bass did too. Cause like they have a lot of potential, but they haven't quite proven themselves to be one of those top teams yet against the teams that are up there just yet. So we'll have to see what they can do with that. But I mean, we got to look at number 5 now. We're already halfway through the list and see exactly how this is going from here, because this is where it gets interesting, I think, for the most part for these on exactly who the top 5 is going to be.
Top 5 is.
Oh my gosh.
You ruined it. Vlad, I'm happy you at least put a Northwood, but come on, we're gonna add full Northwood white across the board.
Okay. We might as well go to number 4 now because that's where my Northwood white is because they placed higher than Northwood blue.
It's gonna be all Northwoods, isn't it? Can we show 4 real quick? I don't want to speed through 5, but I would like to at least be able to see 4 and 5.
See, there we go. Oh, miss. Oh, man.
What? Never mind. Seb ruined it. Never mind. All right. Okay. Before we get into Ole Miss, consensus here for the most part seems to be Northwood Blue is the better team of the two. I want to hear Vlad's sort of defense here of why you think white is better, because that's crazy to me already.
They did worse in Summer Series. Also, they didn't get the direct invite into Taco's colleague event that's happening tonight for the playoffs. And they didn't play in qualifier, so they are scared for some reason, and that's why I had to put them lower.
I can retort on that with some vague insider whispers. Apparently, all throughout Summer Series, Lion Blue's taking a little bit of a break, and so therefore it was on low hours. They did not look like they were on a good amount of hours. And we know that that's not usually typical because the preseason to Summer Series, Northwood Blue won that. They beat Columbia in the final of Colleagues, a little invitational that they put together for that. So I was like, oh, they're a good team. Then they get into Summer Series, look at the lackluster. I hear a little bit of whispers in the back end. I know there was a little beef between, Buddy and Northwood Blue because he was switched off that for Zanil, and then Buddy goes farther, and I think he tweeted out the Mike Wazowski kind of memes. Dude, again, we're like, that's kind of wacky that worked out, but still at their peak after actually Seb, you hosted St. Clair Gold versus Northwood Blue. Team looked pretty good to me. I was really impressed with what I saw, and I'm like, if that team's actually on hours and actually playing. As much as I love Northwood White, and I really do love that roster, considering they basically won the CECC Nationals that Baston cast a while back with a little bit of a substitution with hockey. That team obviously is insane, but I still feel like Blue is just the Northwood squad, if you have to pick a name B.
That's fair.
Okay. I think that Northwood White, even though they're 5th, I think they are massively inflated. Based off their Summer Series results. They only beat, besides, unless you count Durham as like a top-ish team, which I guess, they are in mine, in a best of 7. They beat them in a best of 7, and then they only beat, outside of that, Akron Gold, and then got schmacked by WVU.
You also said Akron Gold was better than Akron Blue, so
okay, fair enough. But and I understand WVU was smacking everyone. At least Ole Miss had to beat that Northwood Blue team. And that is why I don't see Northwood White beating up Northwood Blue in a lot of just head-to-head scenarios. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, so fair enough. But I just with Ole Miss just beating out Northwood Blue, and yes, they had lost to Boise, I understand. I fundamentally think that Northwood White's results are really inflated. I think come
the Adam Renaissance time, you're not convinced by the best I've literally ever seen Adam play.
That's true. They played well. But let's be honest. Durham, especially come playoffs, was not playing that great. The fact that they went to a best of 7 was insane.
Okay, so Seb, I'm gonna be real with you. I heard half of that argument, and the other half of it was just a straight tone in my head as I started to make some calculations. Brother, this means that for your top 3, either one of Northwood Blue, St. Edwards, WVU, or Fisher is not on your list at all.
Oh,
one of those teams is not on your list at all. So I want to know what team that is. Jesse, can we pull up 3? I want to see where this goes. Is Northwood Blue not on this list? Oh my God, you don't have Northwood Blue on your list, do you?
No.
Don't tell us. We're going to find out. I want to see this.
See, you see how I put in there
I think you forgot Fisher.
I mentally forgot Fisher. I might have.
Oh my God.
I'm not certain. I apologize.
Might have forgotten Northwood Blue.
This is when first touch. What did they forget? Liquid? Who did they forget on their list that one time?
I think it was Liquid,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's no way. Oh my God. All right. St. Edwards, 2 of you at 3.
By the way, I if I could revise one, I'd probably put St. Edwards, I think, 2nd right now.
Okay. All right. So St. Edwards still, you have them at 3 here. You have them at 3 for right now. Taco, you have Ole Miss the highest by far out of any of us right now.
High, yeah.
Number 3. I want to. I got to hear the rebuttal here. 3 for Ole Miss.
That
What
also
do you
means
see in
Taco's
them? That's
missing
crazy.
Fisher, WVU, or St. Edwards then, because there's only 2 left.
Oh yeah,
Wait.
Taco's also.
Yeah,
What is happening?
I
Do you
almost
want to know
guarantee
why?
I forgot Fisher because
didn't
from
play Summer Series.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
It's
not
okay,
even-
I got you guys.
Well, not even that. It's like I still think Fisher will be a high ranked team, but it's also one of those things where I definitely, like I said, I put this together and then submitted it, and then the next day I'm like, hey, can I see my rankings? Because I don't 100% remember them, and I guarantee I didn't put Fisher in because to me I can't even remember that they're a team anymore because they don't sign up for pretty much any events outside of CRL. And then as
know.
we've seen with Qual 1, they also don't sign up for quals, so I blanked on that. If I had to redo this, I would definitely be putting Fisher in top 3. I feel like if you just moved everything down and then put Fisher in there, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
But for Ole Miss, the way I do power rankings is not off of prior events. It's based on how they look so far, if they're understandable mistakes, and also what I feel like their peak is. And to be honest, when Ole Miss get put together, they're doing this to be probably one of the best teams out there. Yeah. They want to be competitive at the top, and I think they are. Granted, they're losing to some squads they probably shouldn't, but when I watch those games back, they're not getting smacked around. They're not like losing off of just being outskilled. It's literally just off of like, oh, that's a little tough. Oh, that's a kickoff goal. Oh, they just barely got dunked there or something. That's all fixable. It's not skill based. It's very much like chemistry based.
This is such huge variance for Ole Miss, though.
It really is.
No, it's a huge
Blue,
variance, but their peak is high.
What is it? VOD, you have them at 6. Taco has them at 3rd. I am at 4th. Yeah, so we really can't figure out where we see them.
The big thing here is that Taco, though, out of all of us have them high ranked. You're the only one who has them over Northwood Blue, though. That's a bit crazy to me that you have them higher than Northwood Blue. Because
despite Northwood Blue at their peak, they're still dealing with some little bit awkwardness fitting in Zanil. Yeah. I don't know if they know anyone's roles yet. I still don't know if they truly know how to make all that work.
Sounds like old V1.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was just, that's basically it. When I was watching your show match, the main thing is Bass and you were casting it, and you were like, man, I mean, this Northwood Blue, they look like they're back, but there was a lot of plays. I'm still watching them, and I'm like, you just gave a 3 straight unanswered to St. Clair in some games.
They very much
they weren't organized. So I'm like, this obviously is good, but is it going to be like elite? Are we back to like the days where Northwood's running the board? I don't know if they are.
I think like especially earlier in that series, they were definitely fooling around. Like Zanil was going for like a lot of just like pre-jump shots. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And just trying to style. And it's clear like they're still trying to like figure things out. But by the tail end of that series, like both the teams were playing on point. But yeah, it very much felt like Northwood Blue were kind of playing almost similar to like Northwood Blue of old, but just way heavier on the speed.
Okay, we got to look at number 2 now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to see 2, and I'd like to also, honestly, if we can throw up 2 and 1 here, because
might as well,
at this point, it's more or less just going to be, I think we all have the same team at 1 or not. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Okay, pull up. Can we also pull up 1?
Just put 1.
Yeah, do one.
Yeah, okay. Fisher number 1 for VOD. Everybody else has WVU.
They were NA's only hope at LAN for Worlds. They haven't played in the offseason because they don't need to. In Game 7. They 4-0 Northwood.
2 people forgot Fisher on this list, and VOD put them first. That's crazy. That is actually insane to me.
I mean, Fisher does deserve a high ranking. Legitimately, I still say that I just straight up forget that they exist sometimes because they don't enter anything.
I want to ask, can you really blame us if Taco and I forget to put Fisher on a list? Because like
I put Fisher first.
We've had
recency bias here.
We've had 3 or 4 collegiate tournaments and just events, and Fisher has been to none of them. And we're like, when we're looking through these results, it's like we're looking at the teams, we're seeing the placements, all that, and then we're like, oh, Fisher is just not here.
They are full-time students, part-time competitors, and beyond that, it is very much a thing where it's like they get into CRL, it's like, this is the big time to let loose, and then they like lose a decent amount, and they come in like 4th, and then they get in the playoffs, and they also lose, and they're like, okay, so are we getting Worlds Fisher, or are we getting League Play Fisher? Because I'm not super convinced by one or the other, so it's like, that's part of the issue. I'm not defending not having them on the list, because that's straight up a mistake. I would, if I had to redo this, if I legitimately had to redo this, I'd probably put them at 2.
Here's the good thing. We do this every week. So you will have a chance to redo this list at some point.
I will work them back in eventually, but it's like, for me, if they're playing league play, honestly, I'd put them kind of mid-tier. If they're playing at their peak, I'd put them at the top.
Do we think that this World Championship was enough of a wake up call for them to actually scrim this year though, and play serious? I mean,
they said it was.
I don't know. I don't know.
They
if it is enough.
said it was now,
Yeah.
but they didn't do summer series. Like,
I was gonna say, they say that they have apparently done enough, but also at the same time, name one collegiate thing they've done over the summer for any of those three players. Because
They're
I don't think
RLCS
they've done
players,
anything.
though. They don't need to do collegiate.
We have had a gap in collegiate about as long as we've had a gap in RLCS. Like, legit.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, is that we have to also remember that RLCS used to be very bang, 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 like back to back to back. Like you had a little bit of an off season, but not really. This is a chance where players actually get to unplug and take a moment to be like, oh, wow. Especially if you're a player that did not make Worlds. Like, what have you been doing? You've just been if you don't have Gamers 8, especially, you are just chilling. You're playing bubble tournaments. Like, shout out to Culverity and Frost and all them, and the return of all that. That's great. But for a lot of people, they don't have stuff to do. And for a lot of players as well, I think they kind of just want to reset, get scrims in, maybe do tryouts if they're shifting teams. A lot of orgs are dumping their rosters. So I kind of understand the players at the top wanting to break. Like I mentioned, Lion Blaze earlier was on low hours, specifically probably because he's burnt out. He probably wants to relax and enjoy his summer, which is understandable. That being said, it's with players like Fisher, there is an entitlement aspect that I'm not convinced that they can overcome. Like I said, with Worlds, I don't think they believe they have to work at it. And when they do, they can be good, but they're not going to bring that every week.
If the Fisher B team is looking as good as it is, just imagine the A team. That's all I got to say.
Okay, yeah, but the B team played in a tournament recently. The A team did not.
Yeah,
so I honestly
enter my $500. So.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So they're grinders for.
So I think it's pretty safe to say we can all agree that WVU is at the moment the number one going into it. I know, yes, Fisher technically still
without
grand
the legacy,
finalists.
WVU are my number one.
Yeah,
which is
just based off current form, right?
It's also crazy that St. Edward's also, we universally have them somewhere between second and third. This is a team that didn't yes, they existed last year, but they did not exist last year. And now all of a sudden, the lowest we think they are in the nation is third. These guys came out of nowhere and very quickly put themselves on the map again. Consistency combined with the West actually is hope. I feel like all of us actually want this team to do well, because my God, would it be nice for a West team to be a contender? Because again, no disrespect to Columbia last year, but I feel was anybody surprised when they got to Worlds and they didn't necessarily have the best performance ever? Again, they got top 4, but I would say they had the easiest quarterfinal matchup, and also didn't necessarily have an impressive semifinal. So I feel like it's one of these things where I look at St. Edward's and I think that they actually have the ability to beat almost anyone in this nation at this point. Yeah,
real quick for me, just on the defense, is I think a lot of people I saw when Columbia got put in a little bit lower. I'm second highest. So yeah, we have 2 6s from or 7s from Von Seb. For me, the thing that really jarred me, and this is a really tiny thing, but when Excelst came in, I'm great player, huge fan of him. Runs my games in ranks when we do run into each other, but mostly very good player, comp player. I trust him because Columbia back with Cosmic Clippy, it was a very good team, but I felt like Cosmic Clippy made a decent number of mistakes. And I'm even when he cleans it up, great player, but his floor is a little bit lower, it feels like. Excelst comes in, they play second in that colleague tournament before Summer Series. I'm super into it. And then they get into Summer Series, and then they're just dropping weird games, giving up weird goals. Against Akron Gold, they got 4-1. And without exaggeration, I think they gave up 7 goals directly off kickoffs.
Yeah, they did.
I was blown away.
It was such a weird series.
Weak that was. And then I casted a separate event in which Columbia, that same roster, played against Nichols College, a team that we have not mentioned because how strong East is. And they lost basically off of kickoff goals. And I was blown away. What I'm witnessing, I'm this is such a weird Achilles heel. It's just such a strange nerf to give.
I almost wish we could extend this to so many good teams.
But that would take too long.
Technically we can. I don't think we should, because top 10 has, the special allurement around it and all that. Yeah. Overall, I will say, just to kind of wrap up the Columbia point, I think the big thing that does kind of drop them further on this list is that you look at every other team on this list, they all made bigger moves than Columbia did this year, at least in my opinion. WVU picked up a better team. SCU picked up a better team. Fisher, they already were a better team just based on results. Northwood Blue and Northwood White leveled up. Yeah, both leveled up more. Ball State leveled up more. Ole Miss leveled up more. I didn't think Akron Gold would level up more, yet they have, apparently, with Trevor Emilio. And Boise
Akron has
State.
the best depth in all of collegiate. I still maintain for something about Ohio recruiting is just it's just the best in terms of average skill across teams. It's crazy.
And that's kind of why I say that it's like Columbia are not a bad team here, but I think that Excelst for Cosmic was maybe a marginally better move, but more or less equal in my mind of two players that are at similar skill. So we can't keep going on this, though. We can't stay on power rankings forever, because as much as I would like to stay on power rankings forever, unfortunately, it is going to turn into us arguing and debating about this for the next 18 years. So
Listen, I got my Canadian bias, and that's all I got. I got Dermot. That's fine.
Hopefully they get into one of those qualifiers.
So what we're going to do instead is we're actually, rather than just ranking the top 10 teams in the nation, I'm going to make it worse for all of you guys. How about we rank all 60 of them? So if we can get Jesse to bring up what I have created, which is this. So remember I said you'd have a chance to be able to look at all of the logos that I've created? Well, here they all are. From everyone from the Akron Sips all the way to WVU, I have created the worst logos imaginable for most of these, for pretty much everybody. I will say some of these are kind of banger. Can I get some credit for this Oregon one? Why are his eyes now blacked out? What happened here? What?
No.
Maybe it's just transparent.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure.
Transparent.
Either way, we have 3 categories here for everybody we have to collectively decide on this, by the way. We don't each get our own list. We either believe that they're going to qual first try, they are not going to make it this qual, or they're just not going to make it at all, which is basically a yes, maybe, or no for all 3 categories here. And we're going to go through everybody that is made Summer Series and a couple extras. I probably missed a team or 2, so if I did, I am sorry. I also didn't create duplicates for teams like Columbia or Northwood or Akron. Why? To be honest, I ran out of time. Either way, it's time to get this one started, and we're going to start.
Laval and Nope.
Where's Laval? What is Laval?
All the way to the
It's
right.
the right one. Yeah, all the way.
Second-
This one? This one? Yeah, okay.
Second row all the way to the right.
From what
All
we've heard.
So nope for them right now. Also, to anybody who's saying that Illinois State is not here, no, they are. Where are they? They are
They're
right
middle,
here.
second
This
row.
one. So yeah, again, they're horrible, but theoretically, they should do fine. Anyways, let's start with Akron. Do we believe both their teams are going to make it this qual, or do we think this is a maybe for them?
Maybe. That's my thoughts.
Both our teams this qual?
I don't think so.
I mean, that's kind of functionally
last
how we
time
have
it
to treat
didn't.
it.
Last time they had to take each other out for one of them to qual.
That's
Yeah.
also true.
I'm willing to put not this qual. I think we got to see the really top teams make it first, and we might see some shenanigans where only one of them may qual. Like Gold, I confidently think can probably qual, but both of them probably not.
I think Alberta's not signed up right now, so not this qual.
I'm going to make it so that our eyes do not bleed any
There we
further.
go, thank
There you
you.
go. Yeah, sorry, I forgot I didn't have the dark reader on. Okay, so no to the Akron Zips. Alberta.
Yes.
Yeah, nope right now
Yeah,
because they're not
I'm
even
just going to
signed
throw
up.
in a nope real quick.
Dude.
They're not signed up.
They're not signed up.
Oh, they're not signed up.
can't
Oh, my
qual.
bad. Okay, my bad. They're not signed up. Sorry, guys.
Okay, Algonquin.
That's a tough one. Because how they look during Colleague, Taco?
They looked pretty decent. They got slapped out of the upper bracket, and I think they actually got eliminated. So I'm going to have to double check on.
Not this qual.
I streamed that match.
shootout.
They played BPC. So, by the way, Brew and Parker, a
sleeper
team that, they look crazy this year. I don't know who Damba, their third, is. I found out about him last night. Ranked B player, apparently. Homie is cracked, legit. He was by far the most impressive player on their team, and I did not expect
There's
that.
also, I will say, I mean, maybe we'll have this in a future segment, in a future episode of the pod, but there's a lot of shadow teams, dark
really
horse
is.
teams, and especially East, but a couple even in West. We actually just got leaked one of them that are going to ruin a lot of people's brackets if they're not don't take them seriously. They're definitely going to be I've never heard of them, and then just get ran through. So definitely needs to be a lot of care given to that.
I'd say not this qual for
I was going to say
Algonquin.
that being said, I feel like they could make CRL, but I do not think they are making it
I
this
see
time.
them in CRL, but maybe not among the first
not
seeds.
one.
Yeah.
Arizona State University. No. I'm just gonna say a no to them.
I'm sorry.
Ball State, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think both of these teams are. We
Yeah,
think they're
Ball
going
State
through.
and
Ball
Boise
State
should make
and
it.
Boise should both be probably going through first try, at least in my mind.
Regos.
Not this qual.
Not
I'd
this
say
qual.
for
Well,
Regos.
they're in West though.
That's my thought.
what-
Is I feel like
that's
they can
true.
sneak in. It also entirely depends. I know
it took them twice though to qual too.
It did
if
take
I'm
them twice
remembering.
last year.
Yeah.
That is true. They did run into a good team, but they were also very low seeded, so they were in a hard group. I'm pretty sure. I
that's
don't
what it
remember
was.
exactly what it was, but all right.
20
So
seed always makes CRL. That's a good point, Zeta. I'd say not this qual for now, but
Not
we can
this
move
qual.
it around.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, well, we'll think about it. Broome Parker, I would also say is a not this qual team.
Yeah.
I think that they still do have the potential to make it in, but I don't think they're going to make it this time.
I guess we got to remember that it's 8 teams from East and West this qual that'll make it too. So like once we get to that point, then we can kind of adjust things a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Poly?
Poly.
No, I think they're done.
They still have one Zen.
I can see not this qual in West.
Not
That's
this
kind of
qual,
what I'm thinking,
I'd say
is-
not this qual for now.
I think there's a couple West teams that are more definitive throughs than they are. So Cal, same idea. I might actually put them in nope for right now. I'd like to be proven wrong, but I'm going to put them in no. So this is Colorado State. I know it's a little bit like hard to see.
Colorado State's one of the most frustrating teams because when I saw that
Not this
roster
qual.
announced, I'm like, yeah. And then I saw him play. I'm like, wow, that was pretty average. So
Apparently when they did play for Summer Series, that was after H literally got into the States that week. So he like literally had just gotten
I'd
there.
put not this qual for now.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's West. That's where this makes it hard. Is
Yeah.
that like in my mind in West, I could see them going first.
In my mind, you add like potentially 3 to 4 very good teams that didn't necessarily exist at the top in West. So basically, I'm trying to think who would be bottom 4 in a CRL League play, and then who gets kicked out. And for me, I feel like CSU is normally a team that can probably finish mid-table.
That's what I'm saying. Is like I don't think this
go-
team finishes lower than 8th. I do not see that.
Yeah.
Like
Because like looking at some of the other West teams we have, like Utah, UTD, like Texas teams, Virginia,
A lot of Texas teams
like,
are kind of falling off too.
Oh my God,
So
have
it's
they
like
ever.
I think we can confidently put it like qual first try at least among like the West teams.
I think if they get a proper seed, which is going to be difficult considering it's a brand new team, if they get a bracket that does not have any of like the infamous 4 of the West, which is, Columbia, Boise, Maryland, or Maryville, or St. Edwards, I think they qual over pretty much any other team in West. Actually,
I think we should go ahead and put those teams into the qual first try because we only have so much time to go through this, right? So yeah,
CC's
Columbia
definitely making it
College,
through.
Maryville,
Fisher's making it through.
Northwoods.
St. Edwards is definitely making it through. Where is Northwood? Northwood's definitely making it through. How do we feel about Nichols? Do we think that that's a guarantee, or do we think that's
I'd say not this qual.
I think they're good.
Okay.
Nichols is one of my
no.
dark horse teams I select. I think they make it in, but definitely not first qual.
I'm thinking qual first try. I think K Frost is sick right now. No, he's like ill right now. But dude, we've seen Nichols. They can play at a very high level, and they grind specifically for like high pressure scenarios. So I think they can. If you don't want to put not this qual, that's fine. I just think they will, and I'll be happy to prove it right.
We also have to keep in mind for the qual first try column, we have to limit it to 8.
Yes.
We already have 5 teams in the East already.
Yeah, so we gotta be
teams,
careful. Like Ole Miss, I could see.
Yeah, Ole Miss.
It also
Tier
entirely
list,
depends
one for
on
East, one for West.
Yeah, it also depends on who 1 through 8 is, and then how it loops back as their seeding pools. So it's like that could produce like 2 ridiculous teams in the same, but like. Either way, as long as we're keeping that in mind. But at the end of the day, this is also in spirit. Like teams
Another first team getting in.
I don't think they go first try. First try team I do think needs to be added is OC Esports Oklahoma Christian. I do think they're going to qual first try in West. I almost
West
guarantee
for sure.
that.
The Chili buff he is in the States.
Yeah,
not
for
in OC.
yeah.
That's
gonna be
huge.
so
They were
crazy.
already really good, and then I learned that they have another player coming in that's really good. So I was like, oh,
pro.
nice. Yeah, it's like, oh, nice. So we get like another little upgrade.
I'm trying to see if there's any other like guaranteed make it through teams at this point. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4,
I think
5,
we
6,
have
7, 8,
5 each,
9.
right?
Oh,
So-
put Durham nope because they're not in qual 1.
Oh yeah, because they
Non-qual.
haven't signed up yet.
Jordan, answer my DM.
Also, this is bearing in mind we also have 2 Northwood teams that are going to be competing here, and technically 2 Fisher. So this is more or less the teams we think are going to qual.
Do we think both Fisher teams? I think
Yes.
it's possible for both Fisher teams to make it in.
No, I actually do think both Fisher teams are going to qualify.
Yeah.
I would
just
be
for
hard
the
pressed to say
audience
otherwise.
because I don't think everyone knows what
Those
is
are
the second
roster.
It
the second roster.
It is Diaz, Repeat, and oh god, I know their third. Diaz, Repeat, and this is gonna hurt. I can probably find this in like 2 seconds as long as
It's
I
our
go and
GG
check.
taco bracket.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where's Taco? Where's
yeah.
your bracket?
The old SSG sub Jasper.
Jasper, thank you. That's who it is.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
So Jasper is their other player. So yeah, Jasper, Diaz, and Repeat is a crazy team in my mind. I definitely think they could qual first try. Any other teams here that we think are going to qual first try? Because I think after this we can start going into the no's and the maybes. I don't really see anybody else here who I think would definitively.
Rochester?
I will say one slight note. Kev Dog, I know you're in chat. Hopefully you've tweeted this out because I'm just going to leak it. But Stockton does have a really ridiculous team again.
Drip is DMing me.
They have Top Cheese, Deck, and Drip. Which,
yeah,
for those of you who don't know,
that's cool.
is kind
that's
of
filthy.
So I can see them quality.
We were commentating Stockton the other night, and dude,
Yes.
holy.
It was
Okay, all
jeez.
right.
They just posted the
Ridiculous.
announcement. Perfect timing.
So, all right. I propose this, though. We got maybe room, I'm going to say, for one team in this. Do we put Illinois State or do we put Stockton? Because
Stockton.
I feel like
Stockton.
ISU really...
Stockton.
All right.
Stockton.
Someone has to be a next try, and
Yeah,
honestly,
we gotta go next
Stockton
call.
looked clean. Illinois State. I mean, shout out Lee Algebra. That's the coach of that squad. One of my longtime buds. I know the system he has in place, and honestly, they're hitting a lot of cool clips, but I have yet to see them make deep runs in brackets yet. So
Who else
until
are
that
thinking in the
happens-
West now? I guess is the big thing.
Other teams that are going to make it first try in West, I would honestly...
Kansas? Oregon?
No.
UTD? Maybe?
I would say Dragonis make it first try off of West as well. That's Neskov's new team.
That
Boise
was
in
the
there.
better team than Monterey, right?
Yeah,
no.
they were the... Yeah.
Dragonis Carolina is also playing top 16 of the day 2 tournament that
That's
I'm hosting
true,
tonight.
yeah.
So they did make that through a lot of other really good teams. So
Oh,
they're
Second
pretty solid.
Columbia. That's a good point.
I think Second Columbia also makes it through. How many
I
teams
think
do we
they
have
make
here?
it,
Because
yeah.
we've got 3 teams here that have 2 teams, so they technically count for 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9.
We need one
11,
more for the West,
12,
I think.
13,
For
14,
context for
15,
chat, Second
16.
Columbia is Samba, Gusky, and Cosmic Flippy.
I think this is 16, so I just got to make sure that for West. So that's 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have, this is 8 and 8. So this is the teams we think are making it through at this point.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So yeah, Ball
Yeah.
State, Boise.
I feel like we're missing someone in the
CSU.
West that should be there instead of
I mean, Boise
Dragonis.
is chilling at the bottom left.
I don't know if there's necessarily another team I think here from the West that we're missing at this point.
Boise.
Boise's already
Boise's
on there.
already in there.
Boise's on there.
Where's the bottom left logo then?
What?
The bottom left.
UTA?
Is that not Boise?
This
Oh,
one?
is that UTA?
Yeah, this is
whoops.
UTA.
I just see the orange in the Bronco logo, and I'm just like, is that not what it is? Oh, sorry, it's
No.
a Maverick.
Yeah. All right,
Dumb
so let's
name.
get through the rest of this. We got a couple more to go through here. CMU, that's Carnegie Mellon. I would say not this qual, but
Yeah,
I could
I'd say
see, like
not
we
this
said,
qual.
we could
I
see
could
them
see
making
that.
it in, very much so. I might switch Dragonis for GCU. Grand Canyon University has been kind of crazy lately in West. Like,
I don't think Dragonis drops a single game if GCU played them.
Really?
No, dude.
Okay.
We
I
saw
watch a lot of
GCU
games.
in
I give GCU a
CRL,
lot
and,
of
like,
stream split
it's just-
time, and I've never been convinced. They made CRL, and I feel like the main thing is they don't know how to pass together. They don't know how to rotate together, and that's still the case.
okay. CSU Long Beach. Nope. Are we
Nope.
just going to say no? Okay. Florida Atlantic University. Also a nope in my mind.
UCF, I will put for not this qual. They looked really good during
Okay.
summer series.
I'll say UCF get a not this qual. Taco, I because your boys have impressed the heck out of me, I will put them in not this qual as well for
You gotta look
USF.
at that too now because I think we have 8 teams and not this qual for East already.
Yeah, you're forgetting. Yeah, we have
I
quite
feel
a
like
few.
we need to be
Just
more lenient.
because I will say, just because we are making sure we have to end on time because we're trying to end this
Yeah.
by the hour, I think this should very much be spiritual. As in, hypothetically,
Yes.
there
Okay.
could be coin tosses here. These are
That's
teams
fair.
that probably could make it through because there's 60 teams. Like we can't authentically actually.
I was gonna say, this is
accurately
not supposed to be a
categorize this.
prediction. This is supposed to be like, do they have the ability to take a
UDM.
spot?
Okay,
Which I think
okay.
is like, yeah.
I'm real quick because I just got leaked info. I'm not gonna share all of it, but Durham will not be playing fall. Okay, they are not going to play fall. There are some complications, but they are going to be coming back for January, potentially with another very good player. So
Okay.
All right, well, that's
see.
depressing. Anyways, moving on. That's wow. All right. Rochester is definitely a not this qual team. I think that they
Yeah.
probably could make it. Same with IRSC. I think that's another not this qual team, but could definitely make it.
KSU.
Same idea. Yeah. Where is Nichols College on here? Did I put them on here? There. Yeah, they're right here. Okay. SDSU.
KSU.
Is that the team in the West that we were thinking that we were forgetting? Because that might be the team.
Essentially, yeah. And
I
some of the
still
new
say not
additions
this wall.
I
I
was-
think
put
they
Dragonis over
completely
them.
changed rosters though.
They still played really well. Like they were still
Reminder,
top
this
3
is
West.
just teams from Summer Series, by the way, everyone. Of course, some teams that weren't in Summer Series that were in the last season, so we don't have Harrisburg on here. Probably put not this qual for that team, I'd say, personally. But
yeah, I'd say so. All right, GMU. Do you guys like the smiley face I put on GMU, by the way, instead of actually doing his
love
face?
I see the little smirk.
Yeah. Not this qual or nope.
GMU is a team that gets to semis and gets worked, so I'm going to say no.
oh, man.
Sorry, Tihan.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I put Kansas not this qual. They've looked really good recently.
I'll give them not this qual just to be nice. Also because I know that if I don't, Jar is literally going to screenshot this and then immediately put it on Twitter. So I'm going to give them a not this qual. But I do think
not this qual too.
Yeah,
because they are one of Canada's few hopes.
Syracuse, I'd also put not this qual. They looked really good during Summer Series. I think they've actually been a team on the rise for sure. Same with Kennesaw State. Kennesaw also is looking solid right now.
I think you put someone else other than UDM.
No.
Oh, wait.
That is UDM. Oh, no, sorry.
No,
yeah.
is
UDM
this
the.
Oh, wait. That's Mon. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out Jerry. UDM is actually at this point, I think they're like the second best Canada's team right now.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Do we still think UNLV has enough to be able to make it at some point on West?
What's their team again?
It's Garen and then 2 new players. I don't remember their names. No, just not at all. We don't even think that
we're
for
at the
West.
bottom of West.
Yeah. Oh, God.
You need at least 2 incredibly solid players that are like CRL level, and I feel like they have maybe 1.
I think that there's a couple other teams we can real quick throw into the not making it. I would say I love Rutgers. I don't think they're going to make it in this current East. I don't think that's going to happen. Same with Virginia Tech. Same with...
Rutgers is an edge case for me. I could see them maybe squeaking through because they do look clean, but they did also... Bass, you casted a pretty brutal game.
Yeah,
I remember for them.
Yeah, they've had their better days and their worst days. Speeding through the rest of this so we can close this guy out on time. Who are the Lakers? I forget which team this is. That's Grand Valley State. Also, I don't think is going to make it. I think they're a good team, but I don't think that I see them. I see them more a staple within CCA Opens and stuff like that. This is another one of the UCs. I think Oregon is also another not this qual team. I think they still could probably make it in. Valleyfield.
So Valleyfield is back with the Vegas, Tokyo, and Fire D.
I'll give them a not this qual to be generous. To be generous about that. WSU is Weber State, which is another West team, which
I'd say not this qual. They look pretty solid.
I could see them making it in, but I don't know how handily. This is what is this?
Seton
Yeah, Stokely's team. So not this qual?
I don't think
I'd
they
say
got
they do not have tone. I don't think they make it at all.
Yeah, never mind. Yeah, that's a no. That's a no. They do not make it if they do not have tone. That's not going to happen. All right. CSUF Fullerton. That's
we always
hard.
get one of those Colorado teams going through.
Yeah, we really do.
That's not Colorado. That's California.
Oh, sorry,
California,
my bad.
Yeah. That was Spuda's team, right?
Yeah.
When the West was weaker, CSUF was able to get in, but it's not. So I don't see them making it.
Yeah, I'd say nope.
No, for
UConn's
Mizzou,
not
too.
making it. Mizzou's not making it. This is another one of the UCs. I'm trying to remember.
UC Trojans, right?
The San Jose State. Oh, this is BU's team. Yeah, they make this one of the quals. They're definitely going to make it into West.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't think this time, but I think so. A&M are not going to make it. This is another one of the UCs. I hate that none of the UCs actually put their name in their logos, so I have to keep looking. This is Santa Barbara, UCSB. Also don't think they're going to make it, but again, it's West. Do we think UTA runs it back with a new team this year with Adverse, Nava, and Caribou?
I think they could. I'd put them in not this qual.
Okay, not this qual.
Oh.
Utah.
Utah, no, I don't think so. UTD,
Same with
yes, I think.
Really?
I don't think so for UTD.
Sorry, did they make a roster change?
They've lost Ghost and it's Dez now.
Is Luby even on the team?
It's Luby, Dalton, and Dez.
Okay, I could give them a not this qual.
And they honestly played pretty well. Like
we'll put them in not this
if
qual.
Luby carries hard enough, then they will make it.
Yeah. All right, and then the last one is another logo that looks like Mizzou but isn't Mizzou. This is all right. I remember I struggled with this because I didn't even know. This is UVU Black as it is stated on Liquipedia.
Is that Tubbs team?
No, this is Quit, Yosh, and Cracker Jacks, which I didn't even know what university this was because they only had the abbreviation available. So I'm going to say a quick nope for them.
There we go.
I think this is pretty fair. Again, by the way, for those that are going to look at this and be like, why do you have Ball State at the top? This is not ordered. Like this is just if you're in the tier, you're in the tier.
And there's teams missing that aren't here either too that can still make it.
Yeah,
and some teams will be completely wrong about too, because that's always
also,
what happens with quals.
Yeah, this is just Summer Series teams based on the teams that logistically that the audience would know and recognize. And for a lot of these squads, you might not recognize them. And beyond that, because of all this, there will be, unfortunately, a lot of heartbreak within the East, particularly because, like we said,
there's going to be some upsets too.
On the rankings team, when you're trying to seed stuff, you have to go like 40 teams deep until you get to like bad teams. Like it's really stacked lately.
I'm trying to count. We have 25 teams and not this qual.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot in there that won't make it.
It's definitely too many.
Functionally, qual first try is like, I am confident they'll be able to just breeze through the bracket.
Yeah.
Not this qual is like, if they get a good run, maybe some upsets thrown there, like go for it. And then nope is just, I just don't think they have it. Or they just straight up haven't signed up. Please sign up for CRL quals. I'm so angry at teams not doing that.
Like, please.
It's too late for the more recent one, but for the second qualifier.
But number 2 is still available.
So I guess that's a good point to kind of wrap this one up. So real quick, if anybody wants to take a screenshot, take a screenshot. If not, SE, bring us back to the 4-pip. As guys, we have got to unfortunately wrap up this show at this point here. We have gotten to the point where we honestly thought we'd be finished like 10, 15 minutes ago. But my goodness, there was a lot more to discuss right now than I actually thought would happen. Luckily enough, the good thing is that this is not the only podcast we will be doing for this. We're going to be back same place, same time, with some more to talk about here, as we've got a lot to go on. Make sure to pay attention to CRL quals this weekend. I don't know about you guys, but I think I'm going to try to stream some of the quals.
Yeah, so I think most of us will be doing a stream.
Yeah, I think pretty much all of us. So make sure to look out for pretty much all of us that are going to be streaming quals throughout this weekend. In addition to that, Taco has got a collegiate event going on right now with Colleague as well. Playoffs are basically as soon as this, as soon as this is done. Go check out Taco's channel. And that's pretty much everything. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Champ League podcast /show/ whatever you want to call it, because as we've realized, this is a lot more visuals than can be done in a podcast, so this is kind of looking like a show at this point. Either way, we appreciate you guys for tuning in and tuning into the premiere of this show. It really was, I mean, look, I don't want to speak for all of us, but this was a blast. I'm glad we were finally able to do this. It has been months, if not years in the making for Collegiate Rocket League to have a podcast.
We're just waiting on that.
Now it's here. I'm unleashed. You cannot stop me. So either way, guys, to you guys at home, thank you for tuning in to my lovely co-host. I don't know what you call people who join you on a podcast.
Co-host,
co-host, sure.
Co-podcast,
friends, amigos, bestest buds, analysts. Either way, thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys next week for even more of Champ League action. Make sure to pay attention to CRL quals this weekend, and we'll see you guys in a week. Peace out.